Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Cremas and Coquito.
I'm Napoleon.
And I'm Chrissy.
So today we want to just get into a very controversial topic. The controversial topic that we want to speak about today is why are men abandoning their children when we as men made the conscious effort to impregnate a woman? What are your thoughts?
Wow. So my first thought is maybe they did not make the conscious effort to impregnate the woman. I know you're saying conscious because, the guy must have decided to not wear a condom or pull out or whatever you want to say.
What I'm saying is if any guy is having sex with a woman and he doesn't have a condom on, I think he's made a conscious choice because you have to live with the consequences. And regardless if you're in a serious relationship with the person or it's just a one night stand or just somebody you've met, you know that if you do go in her raw, that there is a possibility that you can get pregnant. So under those guidelines, because there are many different guidelines that guys impregnate women, why do you think men are leaving women? For women to just take care of the kids and they're clearly just absolved of all responsibility minus the child support that they have to pay.
Well, I think maybe the man just didn't really like the woman. It could be one night stands. It could be just a fling. Maybe he's really cheating on his real girlfriend or wife with this woman that has impregnated and leaving her. There's a whole bunch of different scenarios that it could be.
So I believe that many men don't know what it is to be a father because they lack a father figure in their life.
I agree.
And I believe the other reason is because women are responsible for keeping their children away from the father for many different reasons, because I've always heard guys say this, that my girlfriend, my baby's mother is keeping me away from my child in whatever capacity that may be. It seems like a woman is responsible for keeping that child away from the father.
I heard those scenarios too. And that's horrible because whatever's going on between the parents, the mom and the dad, they should be grown-ups and adult enough to handle the situation better for their child, because every child does need both parents, a father and a mother. And keeping your child away from the father isn't teaching the father a lesson, it's teaching your child a horrible lesson.
I agree. I have the same strong stance on this, so we do agree. My other question is, are there clear signs of a deadbeat?
No.
And can you spot a deadbeat before you have a child with him?
I think you could spot deadbeats before you have a child with him. First, you know what kind of caliber of man you are dating. You know what kind of job the person has. Well, if you're dating seriously, not if you have a one night stand with someone and then get pregnant, which women, you should also be protecting yourself at all costs, especially when you're having one night stands with people you don't know. So I definitely think you could spot a deadbeat. You know if he has a job, a home, if he's a responsible man, how he takes care of himself. And it definitely will show you if he can provide for you and a child, and if he can take care of you and a child.
Okay. So I have some clear signs of what a deadbeat is.
I sure you do.
So what I would say is some clear signs are when a man tells you that he does not want to have kids with you, you have to believe him. I know that's the most obvious thing to say, but I don't think many women understand when men say that they don't want to have kids. It's really they don't want to have kids with you, not in particularly that they don't want to have kids. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but they do not see you or they don't think that you're worthy enough to carry their child and to call you that child's mother.
Why do you think the man will even be in a relationship or entertain a woman who he doesn't want?
So men, we have a different relationship with sex than women do. When you think about men, we're the hunters. We're the ones that have to go out and we have to go and convince a woman to lay with us, to be with us. We have to charm her. For a woman, you can walk outside and men will holler at you no matter what you look like. You can be pregnant and men will still holler at you.
So true.
So when you really look at it, you guys have tons of access to sex and you don't even have to try. But on the opposite end, a man has to try to actually get someone. So just in that basic dynamic, I would tell you that men would have to, whatever comes their way, most men just take it
And
because
stay with it.
they
Even
sometimes
if
stay
it's
with it.
going nowhere.
Yeah, because sometimes what it is that we're only as loyal as our options. And when you think about it, if that's your only option or if that's the best option that you have at the time, you'll deal with it
Until
until
something
a
better
better
comes.
option comes along. So again, we do have that need for companionship. We do have that need to have sex with someone. So if we find someone that's willing and able to have sex with us, we will have sex with them. But the key part about that is we need to strap up and we need to protect ourselves not only from sexually transmitted diseases, but we also need to protect ourselves and not have unwanted and unplanned pregnancies because that
Mhm.
does lead to single parent households.
And that's a very serious thing. I don't think a lot of people, women and men, think about how serious a pregnancy is. Either when you're not married to that person, you're either going to keep it and raise the baby potentially by yourself or have an abortion, and neither is a good outcome for the baby.
Correct.
So it's very selfish to think, oh, it's for the moment. I can't really enjoy sex with wearing condoms, or it doesn't feel the same. That's very selfish. And you'd be singing another tune if a woman says they're pregnant and now you're on the hook for what? Now it's what, 21 years or until the child finishes college?
Yeah, and that's exactly what most men are finding themselves in right
Good
now.
luck, and I don't even feel bad because you definitely had the option. You decided to think with your penis instead of your brain, and you probably do it multiple times a week.
Let them know. Let them know, babe. I concur. The second clear sign of a deadbeat is if he doesn't treat you well or prioritize you, then how can he prioritize your children? To me, what that says is a man will treat you very well long before you have a child. If he doesn't already have that habit of treating you well, of prioritizing you, once you have that child, things won't get better. It definitely will get worse. And if it was never good in the first place, it's a good indicator that it won't be good when the child comes.
100%. I tell my friends this all the time. If they are in a bad relationship, it's not going to get any better when you have children. It's going to get 100,000 times worse because kids bring out the best and worst in people because you have to actually deal with crying, no sleep. Sleep deprivation is real. You guys are on super moody. So nothing's going to get better. It's just going to get worse.
Yes, I agree. My third point is your relationship is mostly physical and doesn't have clear direction. Then he won't have direction for your children. So again, if the man only contacts you for sex, strictly sex, or mostly for sex, and he has no real plans for you, you guys have been together for, it could be months, years, and still you're wondering, what are we doing?
There's no
That's,
goals.
yeah,
No
that's a
ideas.
clear indicator that he's not going to be there if you get pregnant. So I don't know if women
Facts.
are just ignoring it or living in a fairy tale world when they think that they don't see what's clearly in front of their eyes. But if you do open up your eyes, if you really understand what the situation is, these signs are very clear.
I think it's both. But what about now we're reversing it? You said if a man decides he doesn't want children and he lets that be known, right? But what if he decides he doesn't want children and then switches it up and later says he does want children within a marriage?
Okay, so you're talking about a man who before when in the dating stage, he's always made it clear that he doesn't want kids, right?
Let's say with the person he's married, they talked and had deep conversations about kids and all that before they decided to get married. The woman is under the impression that he doesn't want kids. She also doesn't want kids. Maybe she's a career woman. And then in the marriage, the guy switches it up and says, now I do want kids.
So what I see is guys who usually say that they don't want kids. I don't think guys truly understand the value of kids because we were not pushed to have kids when we were growing up. Kids is not in our trajectory. We are pushed to make money. So we don't see kids. We just don't see kids in that light. So that's
Isn't the point of making money for a family?
no, you make a money to support yourself first. Number one, if you're single. If you're with a woman, you support you and the woman. And if you have a family, you support you, the family, and the woman. But what I'm saying is even that concept is not familiar to men nowadays.
What do you think about men who switch it up on women in a marriage when they first say they don't want kids and then say, oh, I changed my mind, I do?
Once a man is building with a woman, once he truly loves the woman and you guys are doing life together, I believe there's a realization that men go through that I don't think it's them tricking the woman, just like how when we spoke about the woman tricking the man when it comes to her sex drive and how it diminishes. The same thing with a man, he goes through changes, and I just think that we're not allowed to change our minds. We don't have that, like, it to me it seems like if we say we don't want to have kids now and later on we have a strong urge to have kids, why should we be shunned or why should it be a shock that now we want kids?
Nope, I agree. You shouldn't change your mind in a marriage. Once you say you don't want kids, that's like an indefinite thing. No, because the whole reason why you guys got married, if you had this conversation, is because your goals aligned and having kids was not in the goal. It was not in the 20-year plan. It was not in the 5-year plan. Nothing. So now, what the woman still doesn't want a child, is she to just have a baby because, oh, if I'm not meeting my husband's needs, then he's gonna leave? Or do they just get a divorce and he goes somewhere else to find someone who to have a baby with?
I think that's a very, very tough question to answer because I think it's layered and it has to also deal with what goals were the two people trying to reach when they were married, how long were they married, when this realization happened, is there any medium or is there any kind of compromise where it's a no now, but she'll think about it? Is it something where it's a deal breaker? Because if it is a hard deal breaker, I would say that the two people shouldn't even be together. Probably the best thing to do is get a divorce because kids is definitely something that you can't compromise on. If one person wants kids and the other person doesn't want kids, it does get hard because the person who loses in that category will hold resentment.
Yeah, but it's super not fair.
I agree that
in this case it's the woman who is sticking to what she said, and now she either has to let go of her husband and let him find joy with someone else because he wants a kid, or conform and possibly hate her entire life after having children.
So whenever career women say they don't want kids, what do you think the reason is? Do you think it's because they don't want to carry the kid, they don't want to take care of the kid, they don't want the traumas and what the kid does to their body? What do you really think it is?
I think it's a lot less. It's not about the trauma and what it costs to their body. I think it's rarely about that. I think some women choose to not have children because maybe of their own childhood traumas, and they choose to focus on their careers instead because they don't want to bring a child into this world, which is super understandable, and especially today's world, the world that we're living in. Even for people that do want children, I think it's hard for them to fathom bringing children into this horrible world right now that we're living in. But I don't think a guy has the right to change his mind for that. With that, no.
Okay.
Because if it was a hard deal breaker, it should have been that from the beginning of time, not after we're married and we've discussed this, and years later you have this urge and feeling of wanting to be a dad. No, you don't have a choice of making it a hard deal breaker now.
Yikes. Okay. Okay, thank God that's not us that's ever within that situation, because that would be something that's extremely challenging for me to have to swallow and have to live with. because I know how important legacy is to men. I know how important that once a man is living in his purpose and is on his mission and his focus, I know what it is to leave what you have built for someone behind you. And usually it's a child. So that void I know can be very deep. I know that women are the ones that carry the brunt of raising a child, bringing a
Child
child
rearing.
into this world and beyond. And it seems like men take more of a hands-off approach, or I would say the lesser approach. But I think that it may work if the woman still has to carry that kid, but once the kid comes out, the man is going to take the ultimate nurturing role and allow the woman to continue to do what she want to do. I think that might be a good compromise in that scenario.
Okay, good to know.
Another clear indicator of a deadbeat is a man who doesn't have your best interest in mind, and that man will not have your children's best interest in mind.
How can you tell he doesn't have your best interest in mind?
A man who's selfish, a man who, if it's anything that has to do with you, you see he's clearly not invested. If it doesn't benefit him, if you see that he's never done anything that strictly benefits you, that he doesn't benefit from, that he just wants to see you happy, he doesn't have your best interest in mind. He's an opportunist, and he'll only have your best interest in mind when it benefits him. Another thing is a man with no purpose or vision will most likely not know the importance of being in his child's life. So that is also one of the key indicators. Men need something to focus on. Men need purpose. Whenever a man doesn't have purpose, a man is lost in this world. And there are a lot of men that are lost. And with the lost mentality, you don't understand a lot of things that you should understand, like kids are important.
Okay, now I have a question for you. Whose job do you think it is to make men have a purpose, or for a man to find his purpose? Because I know you always talk about women being inspirational and helping the man.
So a man needs to find his own purpose. I don't think a woman can help a man find his purpose. What I think a woman can do is a woman can be in her feminine that will aid a man to find his purpose, that will aid a man into walking into his masculinity. And I think ultimately being a man, being masculine, understanding what a man's responsibilities, what a man's role is in society, in your household, just playing that role, right? And understanding what the nature of a woman is, and knowing that a woman inherently wants to feel secure from a man. I think just playing your role the way that you should will put everything back in order the way that we had it.
Nice.
So I can say, can you ladies honestly say you haven't seen any of these red flags, or you were not open to the possibility that you made a mistake and you have to take accountability for that?
I mean, they have to take accountability because they're basically left to raise kid by themselves. They are taking accountability every single day.
So taking accountability to me is not raising your kid by yourself the best way that you know how to. I don't think that's taking accountability. That's dealing with the situation the best way you know how to deal with it. Taking accountability takes a level of going, I messed up, right? I had this kid with the wrong person. What can I do to fix this so my child can have the best outcome? It's no longer about you, what makes you happy, but you do have to find some level of peace, some level of understanding between you and the baby daddy. So that's another reason why it's important for you to know who you lay with. And if you're going to lay with somebody that you don't know, or you do know, you want to use protection. And everybody should be protecting themselves. A man should protect himself whenever he wants to have sex with a woman, and a woman should protect herself as well. Nobody should be leaving the protection on the other person, because that's where the lines get blurred. And I don't think it's not always about keeping the child away from the father. It is important to ensure that your child has a relationship with their father. It is important to try to work it out with the person you had a child with. You once liked this man enough to give him access to your womb. So are you saying women are being reckless with their wombs?
I think nowadays a lot of women are being reckless with their wombs. And so many, on all of this podcast that we watch, so many women that call in are saying, yes, I'd rather have kids than be married. Like, what? First comes marriage and then kids. Why would you want to have kids? Oh, I'm getting older, so I just want to have kids first and then get married later. Like, I don't understand that concept.
What I really think happens with that is that women don't know, I'm not going to say women, people in general don't know how to coexist with each other. So, as a defense mechanism, what we have convinced ourselves is that we can still get what we want without being able to get along with each other. So, I think that it started off with women thinking that they can have a baby to keep a man. And then whenever that didn't work, women just started ignoring what's going on. And I think women started having babies just to spite their men. So it came from keeping your man to now to spite the man and to also get a little bit of control and a little bit of power over them. Because now, when you have a man's kids, you at least have them for 18 to 21 years where they can pay child support and pretty much have that man by the balls. So I think it's probably payback that women think it is, but that payback is at the detriment of our children.
It's just reckless. That's the only thing we can call it, because there's no reason you should actively try and have kids without having a clear, defined relationship, serious relationship, and dare I say, marriage.
So next question I would ask is, why do we celebrate and welcome babies with a baby shower and the father of the child is not present? Let me know, why is this normalized?
Even if they're a single mom, the baby should be showered and blessed and even more taken care of. So even more showered. So you definitely should have a baby shower. But you're saying the man's not there. I mean, it's not that people don't want the father there. The father's just not there. But life goes on.
So we believe that we need to accept the fact that the father is not going to be inside the life, right? And we need to move on as if he never existed. That's what you're saying?
But what's the alternative? Like, what are you going to do? Not have a baby shower?
No, what I'm saying is, how can you be proud to have a baby shower? And everybody knows that it takes two people to make a baby, right? And it's 50-50 you, 50-50 him. But in the picture, we only see 50% of the picture, and everybody acts like this is normal.
Well, you do know men just started coming into baby showers anyways. It used to be an all-woman thing. But I do understand what you're saying. Yeah, now we're seeing... Now, even though we do see men in baby showers, we rarely still see a man because they're not in the picture. I don't think it's something people are proud of, but I think the mom still definitely wants to have a shower because she's proud of having a baby. She's still going to be either a first-time mom, whatever it is. She's still proud to be a mom, even though the dad isn't.
Okay, so we know that having a kid is extremely hard financially, mentally, emotionally, along with a list of other ways that it's hard, right? And you're telling me that everybody is showering you with a gift, you the mom, and we know that even with a mom and a dad, it's hard to raise a kid, so it requires a village. Why is it that women will still get that village minus the father? Like, how... To me, I just don't understand how we're just...
Well, the woman is a support system. Thank God.
But now let's talk about the importance of a father. So we know that the baby is half his DNA. So if that child never meets his father, or that father is not inside the child's life, you don't know a whole half of that child's medical history. So let's go and say that the child has asthma and you never knew the father had asthma, or the child has high blood pressure, or predisposed to diabetes. Those are things that you need to know. And the only way you'll know is if you had the child with someone who you were invested in, who you know their medical records like that. But it's scary that females are having kids with people that they don't even know their medical background.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And we were having this conversation the other day because it is so crazy how your child has so many things that you're not even teaching your child. It's just innate in them because they have that person's DNA. Things that you never did in front of the child, they do. And so you can't really understand your full child if you don't understand the dad or half of who they are. And that's what we were talking about. That is so crazy. And I was talking to them about this with my friend as well, because her son only wants to eat a certain thing, and it's just so happens to be the same exact thing her husband used to eat as a baby when she was talking to her mother-in-law. And so it just makes life so much easier knowing all these things.
When you have the person who made
Yeah.
the kid can see himself in the kid,
Yes.
and he makes it easier for you to navigate that kid's life.
Yeah.
So even at that basic level, you're hurting the kid because you're trying to figure out why the kid is the way they are. And chances are, if you don't like the baby daddy that way, the kid has those characteristics, and you kind of have some resentment about the fact that the kid resembles or does things that their father does, because you know it's not something that you did. So altogether, the whole entire situation is toxic, and women just are making the best out of a very toxic situation. So what I would say,
think women are doing what they have to do because the man left.
So ladies, the message may be hard for you to stomach, but it needs to be said. And as always, I hope that you're listening. Somewhere along the journey we call life, we lost our way, and we started to accept anything in the hopes of not hurting anyone's feelings. Not telling someone the truth does more damage, because by shielding them from the truth, you are setting them up for failure. Then it becomes everyone else's problem to deal with it, because they were validated by someone they know and trust. My advice for the men: it doesn't matter what a woman is doing to make it hard for you to see your child. You absolutely need to fight for the child as if your life depended on it, because it sure does. We need to take pride in the fact that we have just as much responsibility to this child as the mother. The child is 50% your DNA as well. If you aren't ready for the responsibility of being a father, then strap it up or remain abstinent. You cannot put that responsibility on a woman and trust that they are using birth control, especially if this is not a woman you are taking seriously. We need to have some standards. Normalize 2-parent healthy households and do not accept anything less. So I just want to repeat that again. Normalize 2-parent healthy households and do not accept anything less. But I do also know that there are tons of women who have already made the mistake and they're already a single parent. So I do have some advice for you guys too.
Oh, wait, I just want to congratulate you on holding the men accountable. Thank you for that.
I always hold the men accountable. I know that you never think that I hold the men accountable because I focus on the women. I think out of the two of us, the species that has the longest way to go to be agreeable are the women, and that's why I focus on you guys. But I never doubt that men have a lot of work that we have to do as well too. But I believe that
especially for our children.
Yeah, but I believe that we are starting to do that work. But some of the advice that I do have for those women is, if you are already in a position where you are a single parent, and try to bring your family together if at all possible. This may take some work on both people's sides, but the goal should be clear for both parties. We are doing this for the benefit of the kids, and to make a real effort to do the work needed to heal from the death of your old relationship, and then you can start celebrating the birth of a new one. So both genders play an important role in repairing the Black family structure. I'm hoping that at least some of these words are sticking and started to provide some insight into some of the issues we deal with in relationships from an open-minded man's point of view.
Love it. Awesome. And on that note, that's episode 2.
We out. Peace.